Hi, Naturalist Coleman here, and I wanted to share some cool things I found out about rocks. I was digging in my garden, getting ready for the planting season, came across some really cool rocks. And I couldn't figure out what they were, but apparently there's a way that I can try to figure out what the rocks are. It's called the Mohs Hardness Scale. It's been around for a couple hundred years. Uh, German scientists named Mohs many years ago found that if you took a mineral and rubbed it against different materials, that if it scratched those materials, it would tell whether or not the mineral was hard or soft. Now, these minerals will vary. The scale goes from 1 to 10. Talc being the softest, and talc, of course, is made makes talcum powder, very soft mineral, and the hardest would be diamond. I don't have any diamonds, and in fact, the talc is put away. But I did find these other rocks in my garden that I want to show you. Now, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to scratch these rocks with a different substance. For instance, if I'm able to make a mark with my fingernail, that would be a 2 on the hardness scale. If I'm able to make a mark with a copper penny, that would be a 3 on the hardness scale. Now, it has to be copper and not zinc. Nowadays, pennies are made of zinc and not copper, so you have to find a pre-1982 penny. Those were made mostly of copper. Here's another thing I can use, a nail. Most nails are at about a 4 on the hardness scale. Glass is at about a 5. I decided not to use glass because glass has a tendency to cut human flesh as well, and I'd prefer not to do that. Then another thing is a knife blade or a steel file. A knife blade's at about a 6, and a steel file is at about a 6. I got a chisel and a file. Figured they'll work. And quartz. Quartz is at about a 7. Now, I'm not sure if I've got quartz. I think this is quartz. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll see if this gets scratched by anything. If it does, then it's probably not quartz. Okay, so I'm going to change the view of the camera so we can look at the rocks and get started on our testing. These are some of the cool rocks that I've picked up from my garden. Beautiful different colors and combinations of colors and materials, and I thought I'd test some of these and find out how hard they are, and maybe I can figure out what they are. I've got all my other materials here. I've got my magnifying glass, I've got my copper penny, my nail, and my chisel or knife, and my steel file. I'm going to use the magnifying glass to carefully examine the scratch that I've made on the rock after I make it. If I've just left the material that I'm scratching with behind, I should be able to rub it off and there will be no change to the surface. If I've actually made a scratch in the surface, I'll be able to see that with a magnifying glass. So I'll start with my fingernail on this cool red rock that I found. Now, it did leave a mark, but the question is, did I actually scratch the rock or did I just leave a bit of my fingernail against the rock? One way to find out is just kind of rub your finger along it, and it looks like it mostly rubs off. Another thing you can do is use your magnifying glass. That's not working. That's okay. Use your magnifying glass to double check. So, fingernail didn't work. Now I'm going to try the copper penny. You want to do a firm, hard rub one direction. See, there's another mark there. But if I rub my finger along it, It appears not to have disturbed the surface of the rock at all, no scratch. I did rub a little bit off the edge of my penny though. Okay, so now I'm gonna try my nail, again holding both items very carefully. Going to see if I can scratch a mark. Okay, we see a mark there, but the question is, did I actually scratch the surface of the rock? I'm gonna rub it a little bit. I'm gonna take a look at it with the magnifying glass, and I see that I may have actually scratched the surface on that one. So that might be our hardness, but I'm going to go the next one up just to see if I can make another mark. I'm going to use my chisel for this one, and I'm going to pick a different part of the rock so I don't get mixed up. Just did a scratch there, and I'm looking at that. I'm able to rub it away, but I can see that I've actually scratched the surface of the rock. So that means on my hardness scale, we're looking at anywhere between a 4 and a 6. That'd be right around in the medium range. Now I can do that with all my other rocks to find out what their hardness is on the hardness scale, and come up with an idea of what these rocks might be. Well, have fun testing rocks in your own, from your own house, in your own garden, and I hope that you're able to learn a little bit more about geology and the wonderful world around us. Thank you very much.